My question is about the expansion of NATO that we've been talking about. I personally support it. I think it's a good thing. But in the age of austerity, as it was, are we concerned at all that we may be overstretching the limits of what NATO can do, considering that it was primarily designed to operate in Europe?
Who'd like to? Would somebody from?
I'll make an opening comment, and our colleagues may want to add something. What I would say is that this concept of smart defense and the type of burden sharing that was discussed is incredibly important in an age of austerity. Part of the kind of miracle of NATO is that you would have had 100 years ago 28 countries building armed forces that could fight each other in a war. And therefore, as they designed their defense spending, they'd be thinking about kind of having a self-sustaining A to Z military that could engage in a conflict. If we get this right within NATO, even in an age of reduced budgets, different countries come forward with different capabilities and different specializations and different areas of expertise and interest. And then, therefore, you end up with a situation where the whole is far greater than the parts. That's the model that we're driving towards. And that's why NATO is such a unique asset, because within an alliance framework, you can count on your ally to come forward with a capability that, again, adds to something where you might have a need. And that allows us to do more within NATO, but also beyond the borders of NATO. And I think part of what this gets at is when you look at the emerging threats, they're not masses of land armies. So you can make reductions there. And some of the reductions that the United States is making in its defense spending are kind of Cold War systems, Cold War footprints that were designed for the Soviets. Well, now we can focus on and frankly, looking forward, we're moving beyond the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Very expensive stability operations, right? And as those budget numbers come down, we can look at new capabilities like cyber, where we have an emerging threat, piracy, where we have an emerging threat. Again, the type of surveillance capabilities that Liz spoke of that are critical to counterterrorism and other missions and counter narco-trafficking. So we can, in other words, both burden share and have a multiplier within the alliance, but we can also, frankly, get rid of some of the capabilities we don't need anymore, and capabilities that were really about a European land war in some respects, and move them over to the threats we face today, which means making sure we can keep our Article 5 commitments within Europe and doing the contingency planning necessary for that, but then also making sure we can deal with threats that are beyond those borders, and frankly, even in domains like cyber that are hard to put on a map.
I think the Czech ambassador would like to add to that.
Well, I just wanted to add that I think that keeping the door open is not overstretching, is basically a smart way to go. On the contrary, because these countries who see the prospect of becoming member of NATO, they do a lot of effort in stabilizing themselves, in basically aiming all their policies towards democracy and stability. So they are doing the job for the stabilizing of the region. And I would just take the example of Croatia and Albania, two countries which in different times were at war. Albania with its own, or within its own, Croatia with its neighbors, and we have Bosnia-Herzegovina and Montenegro and Macedonia in this region as partners who are basically preparing themselves to enter NATO. This is not going to happen here in Chicago, but hopefully in some near future. So expanding NATO is not overstretching, is expanding the area of stability and democracy.
Yes.
And I would really add to my colleague, actually even vice versa, in Central Europe, we are complaining. We say, well, you know, we joined NATO, but where is the NATO infrastructure? Where are those footprints? You know, we are competing with each other to get those. But the power of the nation that was released after our membership in NATO and the EU is immense. We have growing economies. We contribute a lot. We create, you know, playground for all our investors. We have a lot of American investors today in Lithuania. It's just a win-win. And actually, it's not only economy. It's also about kind of, you know, moral obligation. If you have 50 million of Ukrainians still fighting for freedom, or 10 million of Belarusians, you know, who can deny their right to live free? You know, or Russians, you know, those Democrats in the streets. You never know. One day they will be part of our European structures. But, you know, we should help them. We have no right to deny that right to live the same life you've been enjoying here for 200 years.
From the ambassador from Romania?
Well, thank you. Another reading that I'm having, reading of what the ambassador of Lithuania said is that you can be optimistic about the Eurozone future, because this is the economy in Europe will improve. And this would allow European countries and European allies to better pool and share the resources. Actually, this is also one of the issues that we are having in our discussions between NATO and the EU, because some countries are the same and they resort to the same capabilities. But I hope, coming back to expansion, I hope that in Chicago we'll have a message, a good message, a sound message regarding the future enlargement, even if we probably won't invite new members. But this is important also because we'll continue some commitments that we have made during some other summits.